The creator is the mind with which I think. Welcome, this is David. So let's get into it. Today's idea holds the key to what your real thoughts are. They are nothing that you think you think. Just as nothing that you think you see is related to vision in any way. There is no relationship between what is real and what you think is real. Nothing that you think are your real thoughts resemble your real thoughts in any respect. Nothing that you think you see bears any resemblance to what vision will show you. Now, I can attest to this practically, not theoretically, because like I mentioned earlier, I've had an experience of revelation, and which I'm very grateful for, because it really has. I can't explain the profound effect it has had on me. And the sense of safety that I've had, because I didn't quite know it at the time. It happened a few years ago, but in a sense, it was telling me, don't worry about going to a very potentially tough journey where you might even doubt your sanity. But we're just telling you right now, it's gonna be fine, and it's actually good for you, although your mind will tell you it's not good for you. Yeah, so and I remember just at the end of that revelation, the last thing that I'm saying they because it sounded like a voice that had multiple voices, but one voice, and it came from inside me and outside me and from everything around me, the trees, the sun, the streets, you know what I mean? I literally experienced oneness, like literally. Not theoretically, literally. And the last thing it said before, or they said, or I said, I don't even know what to use, was that, do not be afraid, we cannot hurt you, for we are one. And then that was the last thing, the last communication I got. And remember, this was in waking moments. I'd gone to get the car fixed. So it was maybe like a Tuesday morning or something. I can't remember, but the exact time or day, but it was a weekday. I believe it was a Tuesday, and I'd gone to get the car fixed, or rather to pick up a car that was getting fixed. So this is not a dream that I had in bed. In any case, during that moment of revelation, and also that one sentence, I'll get back to the sentence in a bit, I literally experienced the same world that we live in. I mean, I was almost getting to the garage where the car was getting fixed. I was passing through the same streets I've been driving through and everything. But the whole thing was totally different from, in quotes, normal. It was, it looked almost the same. In other words, the tree was still there. And the cars were still there and the people were still there. But they were somehow so superiorly divine, it's unbelievable. There were no longer those objects that I thought, like for example, in that state, it was just pure bliss. Everything was part of me. Everything was intelligent. Everything had, it was, I can't explain, like the course says, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to explain revelations because they're extremely personal. But what I can attest to you is that sentence, do not be afraid, for we cannot harm you, for we are one, was literal, in experience. So they're not trying to give me words to comfort, they're giving me the experience so that I can understand that we are one, physically, totally, without doubt. You understand? I can be that state of one for a brief moment, so I can know that it's real. So, and then when I got out of that state, I was back into the whole, when we're walking around, we literally do feel we're separate. It's such a real living thing that the idea that we are one is more theoretical. We feel it deep within us. But what I'm saying is that we don't experience it totally, We still have an argument with somebody. You wouldn't have an argument with somebody in a state of revelation. It's not possible, because you understand there is no somebody else. You actually living that reality. So anyways, so from the oneness, I went back to the whole separateness. And so that's the shift here I think this paragraph is trying to deliver. Yeah? That, first of all, nothing you think you see is related to vision in any way. Because remember, even revelation, as amazing as it is not yet vision. I think we learned that a while back, so just go back to the previous lessons. Even revelation itself is not yet vision. And revelation itself is so opposite to what we think we see, separate things, that you're actually living in oneness, although you're still looking at those, in quotes, separate things. You're still looking at the tree, the cars, the people, the whatever else around you. They still appear as those things, except that this time they're so alive and shimmering, and they're literally part of you. You actually feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but you actually experience oneness with them. Not like a love, but you're literally one. Like the same way, like, your eye, your hand, your foot, you experience that as one of you, right? Part of you as one. Your eye, your hand, your foot, your head. So I'm telling you, now the tree as well, the car, the people, everything, you have that same sensation of oneness as you do with your hand and your eye. When you're in that state of revelation, at least my experience of revelation was like that. Now imagine that's not yet even close to vision. It's not the same. So you can see that what this course is trying to say right here in this page, that what you think you see is not related to vision in any way. And in the same way, it's saying that what you think the thoughts that you have in your head are not real thoughts, and they're not related to real thoughts in any way. So it's a very heavy, deep thing right here, or maybe very light thing. Let's not say heavy, deep. I think it's light, because actually it's part of the enlightenment. But anyways, so I think we've made that point. You think with the mind of God, the Creator. Sometimes I try and avoid using the word God because, culturally it has become so loaded with so many, over history, it has acquired all sorts of, dare I say, sometimes even negative connotations and fearful connotations. So sometimes I like using the word Creator. So, anyways, you think with the mind of the Creator, therefore you share your thoughts with Him as He shares His with you. Now we're talking about real thoughts. We're not talking about the self-talk. Okay? So when you read this sentence, you think with the mind of God, we're not talking about the self-talk of the ego that is usually what you're hearing in your head, which is usually what you call thoughts. We're talking about the real thoughts now. Therefore you share your thoughts with Him as He shares His with you. They are the same thoughts because they are thought by the same mind. Remember, there is only one mind, not separate. To share is to make alike or to make one. Nor do the thoughts you think with the mind of the Creator leave your mind, because thoughts do not leave their source. And this also alludes to the idea. Remember, we talked about you being a thought of the Creator, so you never leave your source. So, Therefore, your thoughts are in the mind of the Creator as you are. They are in your mind as well, where He is. Remember, He is in there because thoughts never leave their Creator. The Creator never leaves the thoughts. As you are part of His mind, so are your thoughts part of His mind. Now, this starts to frame the idea that the self-talk you have, your egotistic self-talk, those things running in your head, remember we said they are not shared by God. Therefore, you can already see that they are not real thoughts. So maybe we shouldn't even be calling them thoughts. Maybe we should just start calling them self-talk. Anyways, where then are your real thoughts? Today we will attempt to reach them. Exciting. We will have to look for them in your mind because that is where they are. So we've already laid the foundation. You don't have to look for them outside. They are in your mind. They must still be there because they cannot have left their source. What is thought by the mind of God is eternal, being part of creation. We will attempt to leave the unreal and seek for the real. We will deny the world in favor of truth. We're going to leave the world so that we can find truth. We will not let the thoughts of the world hold us back. We will not let the beliefs of the world tell us that what the Creator would have us do is impossible. In other words, if God has said this is going to be done, it's going to be done. Instead, we will try to recognize that only what God would have us do is possible. We will also try to understand that only what God would have us do is what we want to do. So first, because the Creator wills it, it is possible. Your beliefs can confuse you, but as long as you drop them and forget about them, or at least not believe them anymore, they don't even have a little ounce of power to hold you back. Number two, we are now going to not try, we are going to, do or don't, there is no try. We are going to understand that our true will is the same as the Creator's will. In fact, they're the one and the same will. There is no separation in wills. So anything else whereby we say, oh, my will is different from the Creator's will, that's not your will. It's the ego trying again its little nasty tricks so that it can survive. See? Okay, let's read on. And we will also try to remember that we cannot fail in doing what He would have us do. There is every reason to feel confident that we will succeed today. It is the will of the Creator. Okay? So can you see the pillars that we are standing on? We're standing on quite a few strong pillars. Like that, those last two sentences. We will remember that we cannot fail in doing what He would have us do. In other words, if the Creator has willed it, failure does not happen. It's not possible. We can only pretend for a while, by believing in the opposite, the illusions. But actually, it's not even possible to totally, ultimately fail. It's not possible. Okay? So we can have confidence that we will succeed because it is the will of the Creator. And any other will is just, how do we say, an illusion, you could say. Try to go past all the unreal thoughts that cover the truth in your mind and reach to the eternal. Under all the senseless thoughts, remember, what we're talking about here is that's egotistic self-talk, and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are all the real thoughts that you thought with God in the beginning. In the beginning. They are there in your mind now, completely unchanged. They will always be in your mind exactly as they always were. Everything you have thought since then will change, but the foundation on which it rests is wholly changeless. Once again, do you see another clue right there? We keep saying change is the only constant, right? Change is the only constant. Well, maybe we can now say that change is the only constant in the world of the ego. And so that actually starts to make you think that the whole universe is the world of the ego, doesn't it? My real thoughts are in my mind. I would like to find them. Here is your mind joined with the mind of the Creator. Here are your thoughts, one with His. For this kind of practice, only one thing is necessary. Approach it as you would an altar dedicated in heaven to God the Father and to God the Son. For such is the place you're trying to reach. Let's read that again. For this kind of practice, only one thing is necessary. Only one thing is necessary. So you don't need to get confused, but you need to be clear on the one thing that is necessary. Approach it as you would approach an altar dedicated in heaven to your Creator, the Father, okay? And to you, the Son of the Creator. For such is the place you're trying to reach. You'll probably be unable as yet to realize how high you're trying to go. Yet even with the little understanding you have already gained, you should be able to remind yourself that this is no idle game, but an exercise in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so this is not one of those things you're just gonna like. It's not an idle practice so that you can relax and chill out and stretch and be at peace with yourself. This is an exercise in holiness and an attempt to reach the kingdom of heaven. So that's the end of my discussion. Your lessons are still down here below this video, so go ahead and practice them in addition to the lesson. So thank you very much. See you in the next one.